Welcome to the Ephemera Files, and today I have, this is ridiculous, I have this big old box full of papers that I have torn out of books in gutting to make other books. I even have a phone book. I didn't even know that was in there. Okay, and I am going to just knock things around everywhere. It's been a Monday all day long, so I'm not even going to edit that out, just so you know. Oh, my angst. Okay, I have all of this paper, book pages that I have taken out of books. I have torn some out and put it right back in here because I knew I'd probably use it. Oh, there's a napkin or a Kleenex, I'm not sure which one, at least it's clean. And I have too many to just be using for glue pages. This is just ridiculousness. So I am going to show you something that I figured out. I haven't seen anybody else do it. Somebody else may have, but maybe you haven't seen anybody else do it, so now you get to. So I'm sharing it anyway. Lots of people have videos on, let's see, what do we call it? Is it piecing paper, where you take pieces of paper and you back it onto a sheet of paper to make a new piece of paper? My thought was, I don't want to waste the back side of this paper. I mean, the patinas are beautiful and I don't want to lose any of it. Oh, there's my thesaurus that I use for punching. See, I'm finding all kinds of things today. I didn't want to lose the back side of the paper. And so it occurred to me that I don't have to. So I'm going to show you what I figured out. First, I needed a piece of paper. And no, I'm not using this for a backer. I just said I didn't want to. So I am going to use that simply to know where my edges are on this paper. And I haven't used a whole sheet of paper on here yet. I don't think I'm going to start. I'm going to tear this, and it's old, so it tears. And these old papers, it's hard to use them for anything unless you do something to them. So hopefully you get to learn something today. So I'm not gluing this to this paper. I am simply lining it up to that corner. I don't know if you can see it with that blue spray there, or maybe you can, that might make it easier. So I'm setting that right there. Then I am getting another piece of paper that I can take over to this edge and mark that corner. And then I am going to get my glue stick that rolled up under my shelf. And get my glue stick, and I'm just going to glue this together right there, just so that it marks those corners. Okay, it'll hold those two pieces of paper together. And right now I have the top marked and the side marked. I have these two corners. So now I need to come down here and do something. So I'm going to grab another piece of paper, but I don't just want to keep using the same papers, and I don't want them all going the same direction. So right now I am going to line that up, and then I'm going to tear it, because I don't need that whole piece. I just need this corner. And when I get that lined up with that corner, I'm going to take my glue stick. I didn't give myself a lot of room for glue on this one, but that's okay. If I get glue outside of the area, it's going to be taken care of here in just a bit. So since I moved that, I am going to have to line that back up. And then line this back up with those corners right there. So now I have three corners that are marked. I'm going to get another piece of paper from a different book. Those two ended up being from the same book, and I want some different books. And you can use papers that you've stamped off on, that you've punched, anything. And here's one from Aunt Hope's kitchen stove. And I like that right there, but it doesn't quite meet this part, so I'm going to have to find another piece of paper to put there. And I am going to place this on top of that, making sure that my lines are marked. Yes, those two are the same, and I have them going different directions, so I think that it'll be okay. I mean, they're from the same book. And I moved it again, and that's going to happen a lot. You're just going to have to keep replacing it until you get all 4 corners marked. And now I can glue this one in place. Once again, I'm going to make sure that all of my corners are lining up like corners, because I want this. The most common page size that we use in making junk journals and such is an 8.5 by 11, which is why I used that as my base. Now, what would probably be easier is if I would make a template or put tape down on my glass tabletop. But I'm trying to show you guys, and my glass tabletop isn't so great for making videos. All right, so this is crooked, so I'm going to scooch it until it's over aligned with that side, and then I'll press it down. And at some point, it eventually gets straight. But it's not going to matter a whole lot if it's not, because you can trim it down to size very easily. Let's see. I'm gonna grab, let's see, what's this? Oh, well, over here to the side, I have apparently started one without knowing it. Oh no, you know what I did? This was my example, so I'll have to glue it back together. See, things happen. It will be okay. And for this one, I am just going to line that up and line that up. And I know I need glue there. You know what? I think I want to glue that underneath. So I'll just slide that up under. Because like I said, it's not going to matter if glue gets out of where it's supposed to be, because you can always trim it off, or not always trim it off. We're going to cover it up. Let me remember where I am in the process. And there we go. I've got my 4 corners lined up pretty well. So now I can remove this paper. I didn't glue anything to it. And I will get some other, my poor sample paper. It's probably yelling at me. What happened was I put my scrap papers over on top of it, which I should not have done. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let's see. Yep. I think I like that. And you do not have to make them straight. Okay? They can go any which direction you want. So I'm going to put some glue around the edges of this opening. My fingers are super sticky because I've been gluing and gluing and gluing. All right, so we're going to put this right here. And there is side 1. Now, if we look on the other side, we may see that it's not as interesting. And so I'll go back through and I'll add some more pages. I don't like it to be a whole page just sticking out there. See how I've covered up part of this one and covered it up so that none of those are just a whole page. So I'm going to do something with that. And I think, let's see. I think I just want to put it here, just like this. Maybe I want to do it like this so it's a different direction. Yes, because I don't have anything going that direction. And I think I'm going to put it right there. And so for this one, since I am gluing it to a solid layer of paper, I can just go ahead and glue the entire back of this piece of paper. All right, so I already like that better. Now, these pages are not going to be read because mostly you're probably not going to be able to see them after you get done with the next step. And I'm going to set this aside to dry because I don't want any of the glue that's not dry to be grabbing onto what I'm doing next. All right, let's see if we can fix this one. This is the one that I had already prepped and that I went and tore apart. So let's see if I can figure out how it was together. Oh yes, right there is that page. So I'm gonna have to do some work on this one. Let's see, I need my square paper or my straight edge paper, my guide, how about that? So that I can see that I get everything back lined up on that square corner. And I think that when I tore it, I made it to where I'm going to have to put some more papers on it. But that's okay. It's fixable. See, I'm going to have to put an extra piece right there because this was up there. And I don't know that I can get it just perfectly on there. So I'm not really even going to try. I'm just going to put some glue down and glue down these pieces so that they are at least holding the torn piece in place while I get some other pieces glued on there. Let's see, let's try. What do I want? Oops, tore the pretzel. Oh well, I wasn't aiming for the pretzel anyway. Let's glue this right there. Do I want it that way? Do I want it this way? Do I want it this way? I think I need it to be that way. And so I'm going to glue that whole piece. As one of the things about art and making your own supplies, it's almost always fixable. All right, there's that, and I think I just glued to my base paper a little bit, so I'll pull that up. And then I need to fix this down here, but I think I'll turn it over and fix it on the other side because I need to glue this back down as well. So I'll go ahead and glue the part that overlaps. Wow, I had a whole page and a whole page, so I think I'm going to tear that. After saying I didn't want whole pages, and then that's just what I did. got that, and now I need to get this across here where this is torn. And I will glue this whole piece of paper as well. And maybe by the time I get done fixing this one, the first one will be dry enough that I won't be having to avoid the gluey spots, which is why I had this one ready in the first place. All right, does that look like it's, I think I need a little something there. Let's add the other part of the pretzel. Let's just do that. And I may not edit this video at all, depends. Just so you can see that it's not always easy, but creating is always a good idea. Let's see. I think that's good. I'm going to glue that right there. I don't have to because of the next step, but I think I'm going to anyway. Just, I don't know why, just because. All right, let's go back to the first one that I already showed you. And we've got a little bit of sticky there. But other than that, it's really, really in good shape. So, my next step to make this brittle paper a little stronger and a little bit easier to use as a page or as a base for tags or whatever you want to do is to add to each side of it a layer of some kind of a bonding, what would be the word? Fiber? I don't know. What I have done on these samples that I have already made for you is I did a napkin on this one, but this isn't the first layer of the napkin. This is the residual. It's the second layer. It's the shadow. I call it the shadow layer because everything is much more subdued, and I like the way that looks. And I did the same thing on that side with a different napkin. And on this one, I used pattern paper. And on this side, I used just the white layer of a napkin. And you could also use white tissue, which I'm going to show you on this example. So here is how I do that. For this one, on the first side, I am going to use this circle dotty fabric, not fabric, napkin. And it's just going to be very abstract. It's not going to be floral, it's not going to be butterfly-y or anything like that. So the first thing I do is I get my glue stick, and I have a video on dry decoupage, and this is a little bit different because of the fragility of the paper. I will link the video below and you can see how I do that, but this is a little bit different application, just slightly, but enough different that I want to make sure you know that particular way of doing it may not work with this old book page technique because the pages are just brittle and fragile in most cases. Now, if you are using new book pages, you probably could get away with the other technique for the dry decoupage. But for this one, you have to be a little bit more careful. So what I do is I put a layer of my glue stick down, and this is my favorite glue stick. I just put a layer of it down, but I don't go all the way across because it'll be dry by the time I got all of this laid down over here. So I go about 2 inches, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and then I lay it down, and then I come back, I pull back just a little bit, but very carefully, because again, the napkin is also going to be pretty fragile. And on this one, since it's not the first time across, I can go, more like 4 inches, 4 or 5 inches. I still wouldn't go all the way. I would wait until I got closer to the end of it before I did that last home stretch. And I just kind of pat it into place. I don't want to go trying to rub it because I'm going to wreak havoc on those pages underneath. The napkin, I rubbed it on my other, whenever I was doing it on cardstock, that was brand new cardstock. And I think that it took it pretty well. It was able to handle the stress. I don't know, I'm leery of trying to be so aggressive with these book pages that some of them are over 100 years old. Now I do put tension over here so that as I'm patting down, it goes down mostly straight with mostly no wrinkles. It's going to be almost impossible to get absolutely no wrinkles, and sometimes you're even going to get a little tear like I have there, but in the end it's not going to matter. And so now on this one I can go all the way to the end. Oh my goodness. Make a big glop of my glue stick. Make sure that I've got all the spots filled. You should make sure that you don't have any spots without glue if you can at all do that. And then just pat, pat, pat. I sound like little Einsteins. Pat, 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 pat. I don't even know if that show is still on the air, but I loved it. I loved watching it with my grandkids. They're all too big for that now, I guess. Not all of them. Some of them probably still like it, and if they haven't seen it, I think that they would. All right, so I am going to try not to destroy my work that I've already done. And on this side, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use this piece of white tissue paper so that you can see what it looks like as well, because you can see what the napkins look like, both the plain white and the printed. And like I said, that's not even the first layer. If you wanted to use the first layer, you'd have less of the book page showing, but it would still be there. And on this side, you can see what the pattern looks like on there. I want to show you what it looks like with the tissue paper. So once again, we're just going to do this one little, like 1.5 to 2 inch strip. Now tissue paper is a little hardier, so it can take a little bit more of the rubbing, but you still want to be careful that you don't tear your book pages. And you're just going to continue that all the way across. I have nearly a whole sheet of book page there too. Wow. I don't really like that look, but it is covered up a little bit. And the thing is, when you use this in a journal or to make tags, you can cover up whatever you don't like. If there's a phrase you don't like one of these books, it has a chapter that talks about one of the characters died. And I don't want to waste those pages, but I don't really, unless my book is about something like that, I don't want to just include that as a main focal point. And by doing this, I can blend that back into the background scenery and still have not wasted the book and add a lot of visual interest to a page. Now you can write on these pages. I'm not being really careful about the wrinkles on this side, mostly because I just want to get to the end so that I can show show you how to finish it off. I have such sticky fingers. All right, I'm going to grab one of my granddaughter's favorite tools, the Rolly tool, she calls it, my brayer, and that will actually help get some of those lifted spots and wrinkles. Sorry about the squeakiness. I probably need to oil it or something, I don't know. But this will help to get that all adhered nice and flat, and then we'll pull it up, and hopefully I haven't glued it to my board too badly. I had one little spot there that came up, but that's not bad. So now normally I would use my water brush with the napkin and just run it along the edge here and then tear it, but with this it doesn't quite work. So I am just going to go through and I'm going to cut both layers off, following the edge of my page. I know that watching people cut is not the greatest amount of fun, but I figured this out, and I was just kind of excited to show you maybe a new trick. It was a new trick for me, and actually enjoying it and not dreading that box of old book pages, because they can be used for more than just glue pages. I need to use them more for glue pages. I tend to forget to put them down, and then I have glue all over the place, and my whole workstation is sticky, and then I have to wash my workstation before I can work. All right, so that is all trimmed off, and I think it looks pretty cool. I mean, this, you can barely see with that tissue on there, you can barely see that the tissue is even holding it together. It just looks like pages glued together, but it's much stronger, and when it's dry it'll be even stronger. Like, this is really strong. So I am excited about this. I am looking forward to working through that whole big bucket of glue pages, book pages, whatever you want to refer to them as. Now, the next thing that you can do, I just want to give you some ideas. You can definitely stitch on this. Once it is completely dry, you can take it to your sewing machine, and if you want to crazy stitch around, just remember that your crazy stitching on this side is not going to match where your book pages end up on here. So you may not want to follow the edges, but you could just stitch around the edge. You could easily cut it into tags or journaling cards. You could make it into a cover, or you could simply make it a page to add to your journal. I'm kind of excited. I hope maybe you learned something new today, and if you didn't, I hope you at least enjoyed watching. And that's going to be it for right now. I want to remind you, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember to be kind. Bye.